RadioWhat.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What Studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know, I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Let me entertain you. Well, this week's shows, and as I'm recording this on Saturday, October 31st, happy Halloween, party people. What are your plans for Halloween this evening? I'm recording this about 2:10. Well, it just switched over to 2:11 in the afternoon, Central Standard Time, or I guess, oh, that's right. We fall back tonight, so the time's going to change. Does that mean wait. It always kind of confused me. Does that mean we gain an hour? We do. I think we do get an hour. How about that? We get an extra hour. I think I got that right. If you fall back, you get an extra hour. Yeah. All right. So make sure you set your clocks. Who sets their clocks anymore? Everything's digital. Everything is automatic. Automatic between your phone and your televisions and your several screens, your computers. It's pretty much automatic. As long as you're hooked up to Wi-Fi somewhere, to the internet somewhere, your clocks will change. So never mind. Forget what I said. I guess there's still people that use wind-up clocks. You know, old school, baby. Where you got to wind up your watch, set your clock. Who's carrying a pocket watch? I know people that are hipsters don't like to be called hipsters, but I'm sure there's a hipster out there carrying a pocket watch that has to be wound and set manually. There's no automatic setting on that. Now that I'm thinking through things, maybe there is no. Yeah, there are a few people out there that are going to need to set their watches automatically. So fall back 1 hour, about 2 a.m., and then it becomes 1 a.m. again. Hey, so yes, we do get an hour. All right. I know I've been rethinking that through my head. It's the spring forward that we lose that hour. And you're like, oh, man, but at least you get an extra hour of weekend on Halloween weekend. I know last night over at the Rab, we had a kind of a costume party, and about half the people, there was had to be 100 people in that room, and about half of them were wearing costumes, and some of them were very elaborate. I was kind of excited about that. I went as Dr. What, my simple costume of just putting my lab coat on and my light up goggles, and that was pretty fun. So and then tonight, I don't know, maybe I'll go around town, and I'm not going to go trick-or-treating or anything, but maybe I'll go look at some Halloween stuff, Halloween decorations and such. But be careful while you're driving around, because there's little kids that especially little kids that have costumes that are all dark, and they forget to wear something glowing. Put a reflector on there. So moms and dads, protect your kids. Put some reflective items and make them carry a glow stick. Put a glow stick necklace on that kid, or have them incorporate a little flashing light in their costume. That'll help to protect them as they're walking around. I know there's probably not going to be too many kids walking around tonight with the coronavirus lockdowns. The recommendations don't get face-to-face to people with people. So getting candy from strangers even on Halloween is probably not a great idea for some people. Man, I'm still kind of iffy on this coronavirus thing. Is it bad? Is it not bad? I'm sure November 4th we'll find out for sure. If it disappears completely off the conversation, then we'll know. It was very political. So yeah, I know I'm rambling a little bit. It's Halloween. It reminds me of face-to-face stuff going on. I'm so confused. All right. This week's shows, like I said, I'm recording this on Saturday. I don't have anything tonight. Usually I have a Halloween party, but this year, no Halloween party. No DJing for me tonight. So I'm kind of excited about that. I got a little family time. I'll probably be playing some games a little bit later, streaming online. Hashtag Keys Dan Gaming. I'll be streaming on Twitch and Facebook Gaming. So I'm kind of excited about that. I know Fortnite has been doing a lot of Fortnitemares. So it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. If anybody's familiar with Fortnite, you got 100 people or 100 people in this battle royale, and you're fighting to the top to get to be only the last one. You're shooting guns, you're punching people, you're trying to knock them out and become the number one in the battle royale. But if you die in the battle royale somewhere in the middle, you come back as a specter, a ghost of some kind, and then you attack the survivors. So that's something a little bit different. And then if you make it to the end, you get a nightmare royale. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same. When I won the battle royale, I go, yeah, I made it to the top. Yes, I am number one out of 100. Excellent. But when you win the Nightmare Royale, you could be top 20, top 30, still just kind of hanging out as a ghost. If waiting for the other people to win the Battle Royale, and then you become, as long as you made it to the end, you got a Nightmare Royale. All right. But that's video games. We're not here to talk about that. And speaking of talking, if you would like to tell your story, or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, where I get to talk to people, have conversations, learn about people. It's called What Makes You Famous. Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous to find it everywhere. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Saturday, October 31st, 2020. Happy Halloween! 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, U.S. reports record with nearly 100,000 new coronavirus cases. The United States on Friday set another daily coronavirus infection record, tallying more than 99,000 new cases in a 24-hour period. That is also the highest single-day figure for a country since the pandemic began, surpassing India's previous mark of 97,894 cases. This week, several states recorded their worst 7-day stretch of new infections, and 16 reported daily records on Friday. The current wave is more widespread than previous ones and does not have an epicenter, though South Dakota and North Dakota are ranked first and second in recent cases per capita. Overall, the U.S. surpassed 9 million infections, which still leads the world, but is far from the only country struggling with the virus. Belgium became the largest European country to announce a new national lockdown on Friday, while British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is considering one for England next week. This is according to the Washington Post and the New York Times. Number 2, Biden and Trump to hit battleground states in final days before election. President Trump and Democratic rival Joe Biden are hitting the campaign trail for a final frenzied weekend of rallies and on-the-ground work in battleground states this weekend as the presidential race reaches its last days. Both candidates held events in Wisconsin on Friday, with Biden also spending time in Iowa and Trump visiting Michigan. Biden will head to the latter state Saturday, joining up with his old boss, former President Barack Obama, for rallies in Flint and Detroit. Biden is expected to spend the last day before Tuesday's election day in his home state of Pennsylvania. The state is Biden's most visited location. As pundits say, if Trump loses Pennsylvania, he has an extremely slim path to victory. Trump, meanwhile, will make stops in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Iowa, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Wisconsin this weekend, with return trips to several of those states on Monday. This is according to the Associated Press and Bloomberg. Number 3, Sean Connery dies at 90. Sean Connery has died, his family confirmed Saturday. He was 90. A cause of death wasn't immediately known, but Variety notes it was believed the actor had been unwell for some time. The Scottish-born Connery was best known for his James Bond portrayal and is considered one of the best actors to take on the iconic role. But his movie career spanned decades and included several other memorable parts in films like Name of the Rose and The Untouchables, for which he won a BAFTA and an Oscar, respectively. In a statement, Bond producers Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli said Connery, quote, was and shall always be remembered as the original James Bond, end quote, and is, quote, undoubtedly largely responsible for the success of the film series, end quote. This is according to Sean Connery and CNN. Number 4, NYT, Central American migrant children are being expelled into Mexico. The United States border officials have expelled migrant children from Central America and other countries into Mexico, even if they have no family connections in Mexico. The New York Times reported Friday. More than 200 immigrant children in the past 8 months have been sent into Mexico, as the Trump administration argues the expulsions are necessary to combat the nation's coronavirus outbreak. Children from Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala have been expelled with no accompanying adult and sent to Mexican child welfare authorities, quote, at least at first, end quote, writes the Times. Previously, lawyers reported they still have not located 545 migrant children who were separated from their families upon arriving at the border. Locating Central American migrant children who have been expelled into Mexico has also been difficult. Border agents have now been instructed to exempt children under 10 from the expulsion policies. This is according to the New York Times. Number 5, Philippines braces for year's strongest storm. The Philippines is bracing for the arrival of, quote, super, end quote, Typhoon Goni, G-O-N-I, a Category 5 storm that has emerged as the Earth's strongest storm since Hurricane Dorian in 2019, the Washington Post reports. It is expected to make landfall on Sunday. Goni is reportedly sustained winds that have peaked at 185 miles per hour. Philippine officials have ordered the evacuation of thousands of residents in the southern part of Archipelago's main island of Luzon. Authorities will try to impose social distancing measures in evacuation centers as the Philippines continues to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. The pandemic also means the country's, quote, calamity, end quote, funds have dwindled. Though relief goods, heavy machinery, and personal protective equipment are already positioned in key areas. Goni is the 18th tropical storm to hit the Philippines this year, and it comes just a few days after Typhoon Molave, M-O-L-A-V-E, Molave, hit the country, killing 22 people. This is according to Al Jazeera and the Washington Post. Number 6, at least 27 dead after earthquake in Aegean Sea. A magnitude 7.0 earthquake hit the Aegean Sea on Friday, leaving at least 27 dead in Turkey and Greece. At least 800 people have been reported injured in Turkey, where the wake was felt as far away as Istanbul. Several buildings collapsed and streets flooded along the coastline. The earthquake hit about 10 miles north of the Greek island Samos, where 2 teenagers died when a wall collapsed on them. Search teams are working in Turkey's Izmir, where at least 20 buildings were destroyed. Dozens of people trapped under rubble in Turkey have been saved. More than 400 aftershocks have been recorded, 35 of which were over 4.0 magnitude. This is according to the Washington Post and CNN. Number 7, Inspire Brands to purchase Dunkin' in $11.3 billion deal. Inspire, a holding company backed by the private equity firm Roar Capital Group, will buy Dunkin' Brands Group in an $11.3 billion deal, the second largest acquisition of a North American restaurant chain in at least a decade, following Restaurant Brands International's $13.3 billion purchase of Tim Hortons in 2014, the Wall Street Journal reports. With Dunkin' in tow, Inspire is expected to become the second largest U.S. restaurant chain by domestic sales after McDonald's Corporation. And it will have 32,000 restaurants and 600,000 company and franchise employees. Inspire's expansion began in 2018 when Arby's merged with Buffalo Wild Wings. The group then bought Sonic and Jimmy John's. The Canton, Massachusetts-based Dunkin' will also give Inspire a larger international profile, as more than 42% of its 21,000 stores are outside the U.S. The deal, which was previously hindered by the coronavirus pandemic, is expected to close by the end of the year, the company said Friday. This is according to the Wall Street Journal and CNN. Number 8, third person taken into custody in connection with France knife attack. French police took a third person into custody in connection with a knife attack that killed 3 people at a church in Nice on Thursday, marking the country's second deadly knife attack in 2 weeks. The suspected assailant, a 21-year-old Tunisian man, was shot by police and is in critical condition in a hospital, but at least 2 of the 3 people who are in custody are being investigated over suspected contacts with the attacker, Reuters reports. Tensions remain high in France, where President Emmanuel Macron, who said what happened in Nice was an, quote, Islamist terrorist attack, end quote, has deployed thousands of soldiers to protect schools and places of worship and promised to protect the right to caricature the Prophet Muhammad. Meanwhile, protests erupted in many Muslim-majority countries, with tens of thousands of people taking to the streets and accusing Macron and France of Islamophobia. This is according to Reuters and Al Jazeera. Number 9, Ivory Coast heads to the polls amid controversial presidential election. Ivory Coast voters are casting ballots for their country's presidential election Saturday. The lead up to the election has been violent, resulting in at least 30 deaths amid clashes over President Alassane Ouattara's attempt to secure a third term in office, which is in violation of the Constitution's 2-term limit. He initially said he would stand down, but announced he would run again after the death of his preferred successor, BBC notes. Ouattara's main challengers, former President Henry Konan Bedi and former Prime Minister Pascal Affi N'Guessan, have called for an election boycott and civil disobedience, but they have not formally withdrawn their candidacies. Georgia, the country, is also holding its presidential election Saturday, in which an opposition coalition is challenging the increasingly unpopular ruling party. This is according to Al Jazeera reports and BBC. Number 10, Taylor Swift lends song to Biden-Harris campaign ad. Taylor Swift has made her biggest political statement yet, allowing her song, quote, Only the Young, end quote, to be used in a campaign ad for Democratic nominee Joe Biden and his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat, California, on Friday. The spot comes from Representative Eric Swalwell's, Democrat, California, Remedy PAC, and promotes turnout among younger voters. In the first time she's allowed a song to be used in a political ad, Swift's tune plays as images of Black Lives Matter and Me Too protests, caged immigrant children, and Republican politicians roll across the screen. Quote, they've marched for years on these issues, end quote, Swalwell explained to CNN. Quote, the song calls on people to run and essentially run to the polls, end quote. This is according to CNN. That's 10 things you need to know today for Saturday, October 31st, 2020. Once again, happy Halloween. This has been What Makes You Smarter. I'm Keys Dan, trying to make myself smarter, fill some knowledge into my head, keep up on current events mostly. That's what I've been using this podcast for, the What Makes You Smarter podcast, for the most part. I know in the past, I've delved into other subjects, and hopefully I'll get some time and delve into a few subjects of interest, things that have been on my mind. I have a whole list of things that I have to get to, but I got other things that I want to do. I've been doing a lot of gaming. I've been talking to a lot of people on the What Makes You Famous podcast. So if you'd like to do that, you can call me 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. Also, you can use those two things to let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods. If you want to leave me a voicemail, maybe I'll play it on this podcast. Maybe I'll play it on another podcast. Maybe I'll play it. So if you want to leave me a voicemail, please, by all means, do it. And we'll make you part of the show. And if you want to tell your story and you want to have a whole conversation with me, we'll do it on the What Makes You Famous podcast. And if you want to watch me play some of those games I was just talking about, you can find me at hashtag Keys Dan Gaming. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com.